trucks find themselves in the middle of a controversy over the police shooting in lower downtown. Now they're hitting back with a legal challenge of their own.
A record number of Americans have lost their lives to drug overdoses during the pandemic. How a new first-of-its-kind program is trying to get treatment in the places hardest hit by the opioid epidemic. And a high-profile athlete is bringing new attention to men's mental health. How he's part of the efforts by more men to get rid of the stigma around talking about the issue and getting help.
Plus, supply and demand makes affordable housing in Denver out of reach. The city's latest idea could help keep families from falling into homelessness. We explain how it'll work. Thank you for joining us on Denver 7 News at 4. I'm Micah Smith. This week, Denver police released body camera and surveillance video of the police shooting in Denver's LoDo bar area. It was just over a month ago. Officers opened fire on a man involved in a bar fight who had a gun. Now, the newly released video shows that suspect was pulling his gun out to throw it on the ground. The police opened fire, injuring not only that man, but 6 innocent bystanders, too. The Denver DA will task a grand jury to decide whether those 3 officers should face charges. In addition to the grand jury, Denver also decided to crack down on food trucks in the area. You see shaded here. The idea was to keep crowds from gathering when bars let out, but that ban could be unconstitutional. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta reports on why a law firm says they're not happy with that decision.
There are no longer any food trucks in the LoDo neighborhood after the shooting where police injured 6 innocent bystanders. Weeks ago, we told you that food truck owners, they were really upset about the city's decision to no longer allow them to set up here. But now a law firm is saying that choice could be unconstitutional. Our partners over at the Denver Post reported lawyers with the Institute for Justice, which is a Virginia-based nonprofit law firm, sent Denver City Council members a letter Wednesday urging them to repeal that ban. The ban bars food trucks from parts of LoDo, specifically on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. The letter goes even further, offering to work with leaders to change city rules that better meet the goal of keeping people in the area safe. The decision to ban the trucks was announced right after the shooting, but the city says it's been in the works for a long time. The ban itself, that was the work of both DPD and the Transportation Department right here in Denver, but ultimately the firm's lawyers said they decided to send the letter to Denver City Council members because they have the ability to overturn it. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Certainly an issue we'll be keeping an eye on, Veronica. A gun buyback program in Denver and Aurora has collected 600 guns this year. City Council members teamed up with Raw Tools and the Broncos to turn the guns into garden tools and jewelry. But for some, the buyback program has been a lifesaver.
We had 2 individuals, report severe mental health issues and afraid they were going to use the firearms on themselves. And in fact, that one of those participants emailed us a couple weeks after the event and said, had he not been able to turn in his gun, he may have taken his own life.
The next gun buyback event is tomorrow at Living Water Christian Center in Aurora. Gun owners will be given gift cards ranging from $50 to $250 depending on the gun. You're asked to bring the gun unloaded in your back seat or trunk. An attorney hired to help a desperate mother keep custody of her child has taken on the Department of Human Services and the Denver District Attorney and won. That attorney says a law meant to protect children was used to protect government workers accused of wrongdoing. It's known as the Children's Code, a law designed to keep child abuse investigations confidential. Denver 7's Jessica Porter spoke to the attorney turned whistleblower.
It's hard to imagine a parent losing their rights to a child, all because of what they believe about a loved one.
The fact that they could take away or threaten to take away my child when she is well taken care of with me over something that I wasn't even involved with is absurd.
This mom is so traumatized, she wants to remain anonymous. She says caseworkers tried to take her parental rights away soon after her ex-boyfriend, a man she hadn't been with for years, was arrested and charged with killing the 3-year-old son of his current girlfriend.
She quickly jumped into, well, I need you to tell me that you know what happened and that you know he did it. And my response to her was and has always been, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened.
That threat caused the mom to hire attorney Jessica Pack, who says that threat was the tip of the iceberg, that the caseworkers went on to commit serious misconduct against her client.
In fact, they went so far as to fabricate the existence of jailhouse phone calls. They attributed statements to my client that she never made in court, and they even went so far as to claim that they attended court hearings that they hadn't even attended.
Frustrated, Peck took her concerns to a local newspaper. A series of events happened after that. One of the caseworkers involved was removed from the case. The complaint filed against the mom was dropped. But then something unexpected.
I was hit with a gag order, told I could not speak about anything that DHS had done in that case.
Peck sued the Department of Human Services and the Denver DA for silencing her and won. Ultimately, a judge found the Children's Code chilled free speech and was meant to protect children, not wrongdoing by caseworkers.
Victims remain protected under this decision. What's not protected is censorship and government secrecy.
The mom at the center of this case says if it wasn't for Peck taking on the system, there's a good chance she wouldn't have custody of her daughter today.
She's doing amazing. She's the light of my life.
And that was our Jessica Porter reporting. The Colorado Department of Human Services released a statement about losing their case and saying they're disappointed with the court's decision and that, quote, keeping reports and records of child abuse and neglect confidential, except where a professional or agency has a legal right to know, is key to protecting the privacy of vulnerable children and their families.
Now, as kids are going back to school, it's common for them, but also for parents, to feel some jitters.
This is a back to school season like no other.
Yeah, absolutely. Students right now are returning to a classroom after a traumatic couple of years when you think of pandemic-related restrictions and the challenges of fears over school violence, peer pressure, separation anxiety, all of these things having an impact on their mental health. Now, according to a recent CDC survey, more than a third of high school students say they've experienced emotional distress in the pandemic. Data also shows increases in students feeling sad or hopeless. And for parents, navigating these topics can be really difficult with your children.
That's where we start the conversation by helping parents really talk with their students.
Now, Rick Burt is the president and CEO of SAD, or Students Against Destructive Decisions. This national group is dedicated to student safety. He says identifying what your child is feeling, whether it be anxiety or something else, is really important.
Starting to put a name to those emotions, while it may sound elementary, it's really important. We can't, begin to work through issues until we've properly identified them.
Now, Burt says it's also important to talk through those emotions and validate them. If your child isn't comfortable opening up to you, think of other adults or mentors that you trust. Now, SAD has chapters in schools all over the country where students can turn to for help. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is also available at any time. Schools can provide more mental and physical health services now under a change in Medicaid. The new guidance from the White House makes it clear that schools can use Medicaid funding to hire more school counselors, nurses, and social workers. Now, this additional staff can treat all students, not just those who have health insurance through government programs. Trauma that children suffer is showing up in the form of more violence on school campuses. New data that was published today by the group Everytown for Gun Safety shows there were nearly 200 incidents of gunfire around schools during the last academic year. No other school year had more than 75 incidents since the group started tracking. The incidents led to 59 deaths and 138 injuries. Most of the gunmen were students or former students. Mass shootings made up less than 1% of the incidents. The majority are homicides, assaults, suicides, and suicide attempts. Now, with Australia now seeing its worst flu season in 5 years, there are big concerns about what we could soon see here in the United States, how the pandemic has changed who's getting infected the most.
And you don't have to xeriscape your yard to save water. How planting grass will save 1.5 million gallons of water every year. And a cooler week, but temps are about to heat up again. We have the lowdown on deals for the ski season as Mike gets us ready for more storms this weekend.